Welcome to the channel. This is a high mileage review of a 2005 Chevy Silverado 2500. This 2005 Silverado 2500 actually has the 6-liter Vortec engine and this 4L80E automatic transmission, and it currently has right around 165,000 miles on it. Let's take a walk around the outside and see how well it's held up. And as we start looking around the outside here, this truck is rare just a little bit because it does not have any rust issues. If you're familiar with this generation of Silverado at all, you know that they have rust issues. Rockers, cab corners, pretty much rust out immediately on these trucks. They were not coated properly from the factory, but this particular truck does not have any of those issues, thankfully. As you can see, the paint has held up fairly well, though some of these trucks did suffer from specifically the white paint peeling just a little bit on the hood, roof areas, or even on the fenders. Sometimes you'll see it where they have peeled off and it's just bare metal and probably rust now showing. The side moldings you can see have faded over time, but we have no rust issues on the frame. Again, we'll take a look just down here at the rocker panels. As you can see, no issues whatsoever. And this is a Pennsylvania truck. This was a fleet maintained AT&T truck. You can see some of the remnants with the receiver or electronic module up on the roof. But no issues really whatsoever around the outside. We have the typical truck scratches. As we come to the back end, you'll see that the bumper is definitely dented, but that's not any problem of this truck. One thing that is, all of these trucks lose the little bezel that goes around the tailgate. And as well, if you open this tailgate, you'll see that the hinges have been replaced. If you're looking in the market for one of these trucks, definitely pay attention to the tailgate and their hinges. Actually, you can see this one was not replaced and is very rusty right there, even though the rest of the truck doesn't have any rust on it. So there's something to keep an eye out for. The rear bumpers will also rust out over time. These trucks, their common issue, like I said, was rust issues pretty much all over. Otherwise, no real issues to talk about on the outside of this truck whatsoever. And at this time, we're going to take a listen to what the engine sounds like. Under the hood here, you can see the 6-liter Vortec, and you may hear a little bit of ticking. We're going to talk more about that here in a second, but I assure you this engine is running very, very well. Like I said, this truck is equipped with a 6-liter Vortec motor. It is rated at 300 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque, which for a 2500 truck really doesn't seem like a lot by today's standards, but it fell right in line with everything from 2005. Now, the 6-liter motor really didn't have any major reliability issues. The one thing that it did have, like I touched on before when it was running, is that the exhaust manifold bolts break. That ticking or air sound you heard earlier is an exhaust manifold leak. Not a major reliability issue, but an annoyance for sure, just because it's quite noisy at times. It will get better as you drive and the engine heats up. It almost goes away, but over time it'll just get louder and louder, and probably will be something that you have to address at some point. One other positive note about this truck is it's equipped with the 4L80E transmission, which is much more reliable than the 4L60E in some of the lower half-ton trucks, the 1500s. This transmission really doesn't have a lot of common problems. It's not as good as the Allison that's in the Duramax and the 8.1, but it's still a very, very reliable transmission and not a lot of common issues with it. One other thing before we move on to the interior is, if you've ever seen these trucks going down the road, you'll notice almost on every single one that the light on the driver's side, I believe, this one actually has both of them burnt out, but the light for the just the driving light on the driver's side, there's a lot of drivers in there, will almost always be burnt out. You'll see it in almost every single one of these trucks from 99 to 2007. The light on the driver's side, the driving light, almost always burns out. As we move on to the interior, first thing I want to talk about actually is this rear door. It's very common for this rear door for the latch to get rusted and give you a really, really hard time opening, which will then result in this handle breaking. I've replaced it on several of these trucks. This one here is already fixed, but it was one that was broken as well. Not as much from the rust, but just the cheap plastic that this handle's made out of. Luckily, they're very easy to replace and very cheap. Now, as you can see, the interior is just a base work truck model. It does have power windows and not the really cheap vinyl and cloth seats, but it still has the rubber floor and not a lot of frills anywhere else inside. The seats have actually worn remarkably well. Little bit of wear on this bolster right here, and you will find that on most of these trucks that this bolster is pretty worn out by this time. This foam gets really soft inside and also will rip on the outside, especially on the leather. The leather actually does not wear nearly as well as the cloth does. Another important note is the latch for this, although working on this one is a very common thing to break in the middle flip-up seat. Nothing extremely important to note on the dash of this truck. You will see that they have some paint peeling on the radio, and if you have the steering wheel options, those will peel as well over time. And the paint actually on the dash, especially on the tan models, will start to peel off over time, and you might have to get them re-dyed. The rear seat in this extended cab truck isn't the most spacious place, and you wouldn't want to take a long trip back there, but is a little bit more spacious than the Fords. Not as spacious as the Dodges, but Dodge did not offer a full crew cab or a real extended cab in these years. It was just the four-door option, which had a little bit more room than this, but not as much as the crew cab. While the electronics in this truck are functioning properly, there's a few common issues that I want to note. The most important one is the dash cluster. These trucks, especially from 03 and up, 03 to 07, the 99 to 02 did not have as many issues with it, but the 03 to 07 dash clusters, the little motors that move all of your speedometer, your gas gauge, all of those things go bad. And it's very common. I've replaced it on several trucks. This one here is probably already been replaced, not by me, but I'm assuming that it's already been replaced. It costs anywhere between $100 and $200, I believe. Prices have changed a little bit. You can get rebuild kits and send them away and do a bunch of different options that aren't quite as costly. But that's a really common issue you want to look out for, but easily fixed as well. One other very small electronic issue is actually the switches on the door. This truck actually sometimes has an issue with it as well. The way the water runs when it rains outside, it drops the water right on to your door switches for your windows and locks and everything, and they'll become corroded over time. You can take it apart and clean it, or just get a new switch. Now, as we get close to the end of the review, I know you're probably thinking, how does it drive? And honestly, this truck drives great. It has extremely tight steering, good brakes, no issues really whatsoever. However, one of the things, if you're looking for these trucks, is the steering generally does loosen up over time. It's due to idler and pitman arms. They can be replaced fairly easily, but it's something you want to watch out for. The other thing is ABS issues. These trucks, from the first time they came out in '99, and even prior to that in previous generations of GM trucks, are known very well for having ABS issues. A lot of the time it's due to dirty wheel sensors and can be somewhat easily corrected, but ABS pumps and other issues in the system are not uncommon either. So be prepared that you may have ABS issues in the future. Now, to sum it up, you're probably wondering if I would buy this truck or not, whether it's a buy or whether it's a bust. And the answer is, this is a definite buy. These are probably one of the most reliable gas trucks made. I mentioned a lot of issues, and over the past 14 years and 165,000 miles, there's going to be issues with any truck you buy, especially ones that have been used as a truck, as this one has. I prefer the 2500 in these Chevys because it comes with the 4L80E transmission. It's much more reliable than the 4L60E transmission that comes in the 1500s. And that's a really important thing if you're actually going to be doing any towing or any real work with your truck. As always, before you purchase something, just remember to always have it checked out by a reliable mechanic, as well as look out for some of the issues that I told you about. The biggest thing you can look for in these trucks is rust issues. Make sure you get under these trucks and look at them before you purchase one, because rust can find its way almost everywhere on these vehicles. But if you find one that's been taken care of and the price is right, the price on these trucks is running probably around $8,000 for this truck. You can get yourself a really good work truck that'll last a long time. I see these with 300, 400,000 miles on with this engine and transmission on. You can really find yourself a good deal if you look around a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope it helped you out in some way. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day.